Hey guys, this is Reaper Production Tips here. So today we're going to be making a producer philosophy video, and today we are going to be talking about the time dimension. So you can see here that we have a cube, and the first part of it represents frequency, and that is up, down, that is the vertical line. The second part of it represents pan, which is the left and right. And the third part actually represents the volume, which is front to back. So this cube represents one event. And the time dimension is the fourth dimension, which is the extrapolation of these events melded into a piece. And one event can represent a kick, it can represent a snare, it can represent really any transient. And so when you think about time within music, a lot of people think about space, and they think about staying on the grid and all this type of stuff. And when working in EDM, space is such a critical element. And I'm going to explain to you why you're probably making your kicks too long. You're probably making your snares too long. Depends on the genre, obviously. But let me give you an example. I'm producing music, say, and I decide, oh, this is a cool dubstep kick. It should be like a quarter note long. It's going to be pretty nice. Then I toss in a nice fat snare, just trying to get that massive sound, and then I toss in another kick, another snare, and I put a little bit of delay just to make them pop more, and then I decide that I need some shakers in there, and I need to put these massive sounding shakers with a bunch of reverb on them. And then after that, I decide that it needs a cinematic bass line, so I grab out a serum and I pop in a pretty gigantic bass line in there with a bunch of release. Then I play the track and I think that it should groove, but for whatever reason, it's not really grooving. And I'm like, what did I do wrong? I didn't, everything sounds massive, everything sounds lush. But the thing about it is that you're screwing up the time dimension. When you have a gigantic kick and a gigantic snare, you no longer have room to create a groove, because nothing can groove within that parameter, within that space. Space is equal to an event all of its own. So really what I'm getting at here, guys, is that when you're making a track, you need to make sure that you have space within not only the volume, not only the frequency, not only the pan dimension, but also the space dimension. And a lot of new producers neglect this area the most. I see it the most. I see them trying to really work out what's the frequency, what frequency does this fit into? Oh, but I can pan it here and it's gonna work. It's gonna work like that. And I can send you guys or links some of my old tracks where I made these exact type of mistakes. But they don't understand why it doesn't groove, and it's because they're actually going too far. They're putting too many things, clogging up the time dimension. So what is one way that we can fix this while keeping things interesting? One way is to shorten, like I said, shorten your kicks and snares, shorten your bass line, simplify things. Another way is to actually have something, and this is a trick I learned from Steve Duda, is to actually have something come in initially within the mix as pretty hot, pretty loud, but then to take that thing down. And so maybe it doesn't actually need to be so loud. Maybe it just can be an accentuation after that, and then you can take it out because it doesn't actually have to have anything to do with the constant in the track. And sorry guys, I'm filming outside. But another way that you can create space within the time dimension is to actually eliminate elements entirely and look at what you can eliminate and always be thinking, how can I make there be less here? How can there be less here? And this actually works pretty well, in my opinion. And again, guys, you have to take my video with a grain of salt because it depends on the genre that you're working with. In dubstep music, it's all about that massive kick and snare. But what I think the constant that can be applied in my video is that even, for instance, in dubstep music, there's not going to be room for all these other driving lines of percussion. And in techno music, you don't have a massive kick. You have a bunch of percussion instead. So what I think is the constant here that can be applied is that, and this can be extrapolated and taken out of context through even to like rock music, is that you always need to be considering where your elements fit into the time dimension and whether they need to be that long or whether they can be shortened. And you'll find that space creates a groove all of its own. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I have a really big project coming up I'm excited to share with you guys. So stay tuned for that on my website, and have a wonderful day.